ladies and gentlemen, which is predominantly all gamers, thank you for all coming out for this event.
May 5th, 2007. The stage was set for a historic event. The first time gamers raised a collective voice in a public space, condemning both violence and the mass media portrayal of their culture. But every stage needs an audience. Where were all the people? One thing that really hampered the turnout was the location. The rally was originally planned to take place in Bryant Park, which is right next to Times Square, a tremendously busy area of Manhattan. Thousands could have seen or joined in with the demonstration. Instead, one day before the event, the location changed to a small hotel in Chinatown. We were put into a conference room on the second floor, with no real signs pointing the gaming public where they needed to go.
Gamers are notorious, especially hardcore gamers, for being disorganized.
Some people, unfortunately, were not informed at the last minute that the venue was changing. They were actually at Bryant Park. There was a whole lot of them. A couple of our own gamers weren't even informed, and I'm like, how's that even possible?
Because of an initial low turnout, we all waited an extra hour to begin, and even then people just trickled in until the very end. But nobody was keeping score. There were issues that had to be addressed.
If we don't stand now, when will we ever stand? We have to face it someday.
One of the reasons this actually kicked off was because there were people in high-level media that were blaming us for violence in things that happened in Virginia Tech.
Do violent video games really play a role in tragedies like the one at Virginia Tech? Well, let's ask Jack Thompson.
The FBI, the Secret Service have found that the one common denominator among school shooters is the immersion in violent entertainment.
The first mention of blaming a gamer for the VA Tech shootings was literally before they even knew who this shooter was. And someone came on the air and said, well, we have unconfirmed reports that this gentleman has been steeped in video games, and it was thrown away after 5 minutes. But the fact is that when the first place people go is to blame gamers, what it means is that there's an image problem, and that's what I think we're here to do, is to not say, don't blame us. It's to say, this is the image that's been created, and it's wrong. It's a misrepresentation, and the problem is that no one has ever stood up, gotten up in the limelight, and said, this is who we are, this is what we do. I just want to let you know.
Everyone at the panel agreed. It was time to educate the rest of the world on what gamers are all about.
The positive things that that gamers do is just like they come together, they socialize, they get up and go out.
We do a lot of volunteer work, especially the Empire and Deadly Alliance. We do tutoring services. We help you get your skills up in games. We help you with schoolwork too. We've got a lot of college graduates in Deadly Alliance.
Justin Wong he's one of the greatest gamers alive probably today, and he's paying off college with the money he makes from tournaments.
So for example, as games become more, for example, team-oriented, they get to play with all their friends and form this idea of a team.
Developing reflexes, developing pattern recognition abilities, strategizing, understanding tactics are all really good for a person's mental and physical development.
See, gamers aren't so bad. It's oftentimes just the public perception of games that gives them a bad rap. And while we're on the subject, let's debunk a couple big myths about video games.
They should definitely really, make the ratings for a game a lot more stronger.
In fact, media watchdogs and the Federal Trade Commission have praised the industry for their self-regulatory ESRB rating system, which 9 out of 10 parents are aware of.
Nowadays, you have kids who are just going out and, behind their parents' backs, or they have friends who are a lot older than them and, buying these violent games for them.
But what about the biggest blow to video games? The studies that link video game violence to real-life aggression. Well, experts on either side of the issue have written papers arguing their viewpoints for years. However, one undeniable fact overshadows both sides.
Teen violence has gone down in massive numbers.
That's right. Regardless of the apocalyptic visions some might have you believe, America is actually in the middle of a 10-year drought in violent crime.
On the other hand, video game proliferation has massively increased. You see hundreds of thousands of people worldwide, millions of people playing video games, talking about video games, getting involved in video games, advertising video games.
It might just be that the reason why violent crimes have died down is because more people are playing video games and not out there doing stuff. They got something else to do now.
When mankind finds an activity that takes up their time to do something constructive, they are less prone to do anything negative.
If you're at a tournament right now and you see about 20 little kids ranging between 10 to 15, they're not outside, they're not in the projects, they're not in the streets. They're here with us in a safe and comfortable environment. Do we get any positive promotion for that? Not at all. But when someone, has a fight in school, brings a knife to school, what happens? Oh, this guy's been playing Counter-Strike. He's been, he was playing Grand Theft Auto.
The Entertainment Software Association reports that 69% of American heads of households play computer and video games. And that's at home, on mobile devices, they're everywhere. Games are one of the most pervasive mediums on the planet, grossing more money annually than the movie box office. So why have they received such negative press for so long? Well, in America, there's a certain connotation to the word video game, and it has to do with the context in which they're always mentioned.
University Medical School looked at what violent video games do to the brains of teenagers.
And now we know that the long-term effects of these particularly violent games are in fact long-term. Typically the school shooters train literally on video games to do this.
But teenagers play video games.
Oh, sure they do. Not everyone who smokes gets lung cancer, though, and no one would deny the link between the two. The point is there's a continuum of risk.
The media looks too much at the negative because it's the only thing that's going to sell on TV.
That's what media's all about. It's make it when something comes up, the first name that you think of should be our name. And that's what video gaming's done. It's when something happens, video games is the first thing people think of. And that it's a natural reaction. It's the cycle of media and exposure.
Columbine happened and they blamed it on Doom because they happened to play Doom. Well, I played Doom. I probably played more Doom than those guys. I know I did because I was top 5 in the country. The media is just pointing fingers at the most convenient thing they can.
Nobody understands what went on in the head of this gentleman at Virginia Tech. And so as human beings, our natural reaction is, let's attach an explanation to what we don't understand.
So much is about rationalizing as a coping mechanism.
They need something to blame stuff on. They need a reason for why this kid went in Virginia Tech and did what he did.
Why aren't anybody attacking the movie industry? Aren't there violent movies out there? Why is everyone trying to attack the gaming industry? Maybe it's because it has a lot of money. Maybe it's because it's the easiest thing to actually attack.
The reason everybody's picking on video games is because they can't pick on rap music or they can't pick on the internet because those things have blown up so much that you just can't topple that beast.
They tried to blame it on music before they did game. Remember when they were saying play your record backwards, you hear the satanic word? I mean, come on.
It's always about picking on the minority thing. We need someone to blame, and we can't blame people for something we do because we watch movies. So we gotta blame it for something we don't understand and we don't do. So why not blame gamers?
Once we destroy it, once we destroy these gamers, or once we destroy this or the other, whatever they think they destroyed, now they think they've completely destroyed the violence with that. So they think that by killing this off, they've solved the problem, and now the violence is over, and that's crap.
Hypothetically speaking, of course, because gaming will not disappear. But if it did, I can guarantee you, violence will not be gone. Like they're just gonna find something else to blame.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. What is a hardcore gamer's perspective on violence in video games?
Mankind has been killing each other savagely since the beginning of time. If you want to start 10 million years later, let's blame games, you're an idiot.
Violence as a whole is part of culture. It's not part of gaming, it's not part of movies, it's not part of anything. It's part of humanity.
Typically, violence is really adventurous and really entertaining to especially a lot of guys. That's why you have entire rows of the bookstore dedicated to, Dragonlance.
Violence sells. Sex sells.
But what does it say about humans that we're attracted to violence? And how many people are there that have played a violent video game but have never done anything violent?
Just because somebody is an excellent solitaire player doesn't mean he's going to become a professional, card player. Or that he's going to, equate everything from cards into real life.
I can play any racing game. Doesn't mean I'm gonna go do 110 on, the West Side Highway. I'm not a violent individual, but I've played violent games. I'm able to separate, when I have a controller in my hand and when I don't.
So at this point now, what we want to do is take a 30 seconds moment of silence for those that fell victim to the tragedy in Virginia. We wear these ribbons for the victims. Our hearts go out to all the families that suffered this tragic event. But everyone in here, can you take off your hats and bow your heads in a moment of silence? Thank you. Okay, thank you for your respect.
And with that, it was over. And the collective 30 to 40 people, speakers included, took the subway over to Nyclan to play games together for the rest of the day. It was a peaceful demonstration about video games, and although there was little external media covering the event, those involved seemed pleased just being there. Was this event a success? Did they get the word out? Well, in contrast to the large number of blog and news sites that ran the story prior to the demonstration, there's been almost no mention of how either the East or West Coast events went. You just can't find it.
The way the event happened wasn't this spectacular, revolution and that they were expecting. It was exactly what it was. It's a community cultural event. The media was probably expecting gamers to have this huge Million Man March demonstration. And pretty much we were able to get what we had to say off our chests in regards to gamers against violence. If I could give it a grade, I would say I'd give it a B-. It wasn't everything we expected it to be, but we did get the point out.
Hopefully, I've said this a million times, because gaming is in its infancy in a certain light, people will start to change their perception.
Every movement takes a catalytic advocate.
We're the start. How many people will then ally with us and push it further?
It's going to take time, and more people will come on board. It's just we have to tread those waters until we get there. When you have millions of gamers, the likelihood that a murderer is a video gamer is possible, but are video gamers murderers? No.